welcome to No Instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
You got a dog.
Wow. Not with me, but yes, I do. I did. I did.
Let's get into it. You got a dog?
I did. We got a dog over the weekend. We got a puppy. A boxer puppy, which I'm super excited about. One thing that I didn't really think about, which I probably should have.
They poop a lot.
Yes, that's a given. But the look on my wife's face was magical many times. That like I could look in her face and her face just did that like girl kind of droop little melty thing like,
yeah,
this is the cutest thing on the face of the planet. And I remember because it's a puppy and it's a boxer, and if you know anything about boxers, like their butt kind of like wobbles behind them and they have a little nub. And we got the dog home and she was like playing with the kids in the yard, and she was still kind of timid, but at one point she actually started playing and her little nub started wiggling, and Tiff just like turned around in this deadpan like kind of look. It was amazing. She's like, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. And there were many moments like that, and it made me very happy.
Nice.
The kids are super happy. Puppy's cute. She left like a poop like as long as herself this morning downstairs. Was kind of great. And I think I've talked about it. My daughter having a gag reflex when it comes to poop. It was another magical moment. Like I took a dog out this morning and she went to the bathroom. And then I was like, well, I have to get ready to go to work. So I have to go take a shower. And Tiff was downstairs teaching class. So I left my youngest child, my daughter. And I'm like, all right, can you just watch after Lena? The dog's name is Lena. I'm like, just, play with her. Make sure she doesn't destroy anything. He's like, okay. And then I go upstairs and like, I hear, Dad, she pooped in the living room. I'm like, so clean it up. She's like, I can't clean it up. She starts coughing and all this. And go get a paper towel. She's like, I did get a paper towel. It's so funny. And so like I had to clean up this like a good 9-inch long turd. She must have been like slowly walking forward.
Yeah.
She piped it out. It was pretty good.
Gross.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, good. I'm glad you guys got a puppy.
What'd you do this weekend?
Worked on a project that we've been working on, trying to finish it up. I did all the not fun parts.
It looks really nice though.
I'm very happy with it. I think it looks really good. But this weekend was like drywall and sanding and priming and painting and patching and more painting. It's like that type of stuff. But it's done. It looks really good. So it was a lot of that. And then this weekend was kind of, I want to talk about what we're going to talk about first.
I have no idea what we're going to talk about. This is exciting.
Because I had an idea.
Ooh.
I've been writing down topic ideas for myself. Things in the moment. Because I'm like a professional podcaster.
Wow.
No, in the moment, the last couple of weeks, I've been like, would be a good topic. And then I'm writing it down so that when we get here to record, we're not like, what are we going to talk about? Because there's moments that are worth talking about, and I just forget about them.
And then we have organic conversations as we do hanging out. And we're like, ooh, we should maybe hold that. And then we forget what it is.
So before we do that, though, what are we working on today? Because we both have new things. So
you have a thing.
This is a Luke Skywalker snow speeder model from 1980? Old? I don't know. It doesn't say. Oh, yeah, 1980. This was one that I got off eBay. These are incredibly cheap to get off eBay. It looks like it would be worth something because it's like the original box.
What does that say?
That
says something cool.
Oh yeah, join the official Star Wars fan club.
I want to do that.
I wonder if you could still join this because it has an address on it.
We should go to that place.
It's Universal City, California. So it's just a PO box. But like, I wonder what would happen if you sent in this form from 1980. It's only annual membership of $5.
That's a steal.
Let's send a $5 check to that, and we'll see what happens.
Jimmy's out in California. I wonder if he can go track down that PO box.
Can go knock on the PO box
and see if it's still registered. Can you ask someone at the post office? Like, there's all the PO boxes. Like, who has this one?
No, I don't think you can.
Because I really like that number. Can I reach out to them and see if they want to trade?
But to this set,
what do you get though?
You used to get like patches and stuff.
You qualify for special club-sponsored contests. A beautiful membership kit specially prepared for the Empire Strikes Back. Full-color Empire wall poster. 6 full-color Empire photos. Color Darth Vader patch. official membership card, multicolored pencil patch, special Empire pencil.
That's a lot.
That's a lot for $5 per year.
Wow.
But $5 a year in 1980. That's a good $30.
Yeah, still
it's not bad.
I mean, but a model like this on eBay is pretty cheap, and it's complete. So it has all the paperwork, right? It has the fan club paper. It has this thing. The decal sheet, water decals are still intact. All of the pieces still in the plastic bag.
Cool.
It just kind of blows my mind that stuff like this exists.
That's a good size, too.
Like that this thing didn't get put together and just set somewhere for 40 years. Like, I don't really understand that. But
the Snowspeeder
cool.
is maybe my number 2 favorite Star Wars ship.
Definitely top 5 for me,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, it's a cool one. Bill Duran and I have had extensive conversations about it's his favorite ship.
Bill Duran from Punished Props?
Yes, Bill Duran from Punished Props. It's his favorite ship, as far as I know. And we've talked several times about building a full-size one somewhere, but we live on opposite ends of the country. So we haven't done that, but...
We have internally had a lunch conversation about how we could make a giant snow speeder.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. And I'm seriously amazed that we haven't done it already.
Well, we're not dead yet, so there's time. Fact. Anyway, what are you working on?
I am working on this little tiny box. This little tiny...
Ooh, sorry.
This little box is an LED lighting kit for a Lego set that I did not put together on this show. It is a kit that you got me for my birthday that I've mentioned before. And it is, if you're watching the YouTube video, you should go to youtube.com/no instructions podcast. Maybe. I don't know. It should work. Hey, look at that.
Check
Check it
zoom
out.
in on this.
Oh,
Hang on. I'm sorry. You can go, but you can't really see them. Look at these weird little pilot guys.
goofy looking. They just have like...
Here. This was a set that my brother had, a model that my brother had. I think it's one of the many that I ruined of his models, but I actively remember specific parts because I messed with his so much. Anyway,
Just chewed on them?
back to yours.
All right. Check it out. Whoa, this is the Lego Land Rover. It's really big, and it can jump up and down.
It's bouncy.
Look at that. It has independent 4-wheel suspension. It's got Positrack on both axles. It has this crazy gear reduction. This is the largest and most complicated Lego set that I have ever built, and it's pretty great. So I wanted to do something with this, but they make, this company called Brick Smacks, and a lot of others on...
Brick Smacks?
Yeah, Brick Smacks on Amazon. Make aftermarket lighting kits for a lot of sets. So like the treehouse, there's a lighting kit for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I
You can
knew
add
there
little
was one for the Batmobile.
ambiance. Yeah, so I got one for the
Ambiance.
Land Rover. So I don't know what to expect. So I don't know.
I was thinking about that, like wondering how much you're going to have to disassemble and if it has disassembly instructions.
It does. I've looked it up. And so on the Land Rover, it has these like these little LED looking headlights that are just stickers.
Oh.
You put the little tiny LEDs on each one of those. And so most of it is running wire to buses.
Okay.
And I think there's 2 like safari style spotlights up here.
Nice.
That you put them up, but I don't have those, so I'll have to try to steal them from something. Boing. This is the new Land Rover Defender, which doesn't look like my old Land Rover Discovery that was a flaming pile of garbage.
Flaming pile of garbage. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
So I've had... Oh, look at that little control thing. I've had 2 of my sons have had birthdays in the... That was a really weird sentence. Let me start over. 2 of my sons have had birthdays in the last couple of weeks. My oldest and my second oldest son. My daughter's in between them, but they've had birthdays within a short period of each other. And they turned 10 and 13. So the fact that I have a 13-year-old child
Yeah.
is mind-blowing.
Yep.
And that has been a very weird thing to kind of, every time you have an age turnover for yourself or one of your kids, it's just a number. It's just a day from, between one day and the next, that number changes. It doesn't really mean anything. But there's something about like the there's like an implication with those numbers that, when you hit 40, it's like you kind of feel it differently. Well, you don't know. You will kind of feel it a little bit.
I don't know how old I am now. Somebody asked me that the other day, and I had to sit down and think about it.
My friend Adams, for a long time in college, told people he was, I don't know, whatever the age was, 22 or something. And for like a year, I remember this coming up, and he just kept saying, yeah, I'm 22. And it got to his birthday. His birthday is the same as one of my sons. Got to his birthday, and we were like singing happy birthday to him or something, and he started counting. And he was like, wait a minute. I've been 21 this whole time. I'm turning 22, not turning 23. I mean, it was this big, long thing. And he wasn't doing it on purpose. He just thought ahead, like, I'm turning 22 this year.
I'm about to be, but just erase the about to be part.
Yeah, and since his birthday's at the end of the year, he was just kind of like, well, I guess I'm 22. Anyway. So my point is that the number itself obviously doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. But there's, to the kids, becoming 13 was like a passover of, I'm passing from this stage of life to now I'm a teenager. Like, you can't say that I'm not a teenager because I'm in my teens, So that was a little bit weird just to have that realization. The day's over, the very tiny birthday party that we had, which wasn't really a birthday party, it was like family, was over. And then finally kids were in bed, and we were sitting there talking, and I was just like, 13. It's bizarre to me that we have been married long enough to have had a lot of marriage without kids and then had kids, and that point was 13 years ago.
Yep.
That's wild. That's really wild.
My wife and I do a thing where we relate our relationship, like it was born on a certain day, and what our relationship is able to do. So I think our relationship is 19. Yeah. Yeah. Our relationship is 19. It's almost graduating college.
Yeah. Yeah. Ours is, I guess ours is a little over 19 because we're having our 19th wedding anniversary this next year. So it's, I don't know, it's bizarre. But one of the really strange things that happened on top of, just like he got braces recently. That's like a physical jump, which just, it looks weird. And I don't mean he looks weird, but like you're used to looking at your child a certain way. And then when you have something like that it's a face change, right? Like it's not just like they got a haircut. It's every time you look at the defining picture of this person that you know super well, it's different. And it's going to take a while to get used to that, I think. But so between that, a few weeks ago, this age change, it's just been a lot to kind of think through and become, acquainted with, I guess. But the biggest thing, actually, that affected me over the last couple of weeks had nothing to do with him. So we moved here for about almost 4 years ago. Well, 3, whatever. I don't know. The kids they're in their 4th year of school right now here. That's the important thing. So the first year we moved here, 3 of the kids were at an elementary school for 2 years. Then he got old enough to go to middle school. And we also switched school systems. So everybody changed schools at that year.
Yep.
In the first elementary school that we were in, my oldest met this kid who became his immediate best friend. They were like super identical in a lot of different ways. Into the same stuff, had the same odd humor, just like, they're just buds, like immediate, really good friends. And during those 2 years, we got to meet this kid's parents. He came over for sleepovers a couple times, came to birthday parties, so we know the kid and we know his family. My son went and spent the night at his house a few times, and so they knew each other. They saw each other at school all the time. Then they went to middle school. We switched school systems, so they were going to different middle schools. Our kids don't have phones. This kid doesn't have a phone. So the 2 boys don't really have a way to stay in touch. Yeah. They haven't. And, we got them together once or twice, I think. And then COVID happened. This boy, this is a long way around, but this boy, his grandmother lives with them, and she's got some health issues, so she's at risk. And so their family is staying very, very far away from everybody. We have stayed very, very far away from everybody. And so my son and his good friend just have not seen each other, have not talked in, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months, something like that. So he's been asking, and you know, we've been in touch with his parents and said, like, you know, checking on him, and we kind of passed notes back and forth between the kids and stuff like that. And so my son asked if his friend could come have a sleepover, since they had been really separated from everybody. We don't think they're a health risk. We don't think we're a health risk to them. So for his birthday, he was asking one thing: can my friend just come over and spend the night? And that was the plan the entire time. And then he got grounded like a week, but my son got grounded a week before for something dumb. I don't remember. It was like playing video games after we told him not to, we told him to get off. It's the same thing over and over. He lost his video games for like over a month. We finally gave him back. And then it's like, okay, you got 5 more minutes and then you got to shut it down. I don't care if you're in the middle of a battle or a whatever. You got to shut it down when the timer goes off. And of course he doesn't. Several times in a row again. So he gets grounded. And his grounding ends on his birthday.
That's convenient.
Yeah. Well, my wife was like, you're grounded this week. His birthday was on a Friday. So he, the whole time, is like, well, I guess I'm not going to get to do anything for my birthday. Like, I won't even get to play video games. Like, I'm still going to be grounded and whatever.
Yup.
So we like lean into that real hard. We're like, well, self-control, man. You got to learn it. Like, This is what happens. We've been through this before. This is not the first time, whatever. So on the background, we're like scheduling with his friend's parents to go pick him up. We're going to have the kid come spend the night. He's going to get to play video games because they're both really into video games. He just doesn't know it. So on that day, my son has a piano lesson. Doesn't want to go because it's his birthday and he's grounded. So my wife takes him to the piano lesson, drops him off, goes to pick up his friend who doesn't know this is happening. Or, my son doesn't know his friend's being picked up. So anyway, my wife comes to pick him up. He walks out to the car, opens the door, and there's this kid sitting in the car with a mask on, who looks a little bit like my nephew, who's a little bit older. And so my son immediately thinks it's his cousin. This is confusing. And then the kid speaks. Now this is where it gets weird. The kid speaks in a different voice than the last time they were together. No, not like that.
Oh, he's matured, and so
they've been apart.
Like, bro.
They're turning 13. They've been apart for 9 months or 10 months or whatever it was. His voice changed in a very dramatic way. Now, I know this is not a big deal. It happens to everybody. It happens with, you don't even notice it if you're around somebody. But when you don't see somebody for that amount of time, he was looking at this kid in a mask and heard a voice and was like, I don't know who you are. He was so confused. And so his friend pulls his mask off and they're like, oh, yeah, they have fun. And he's over here, spends the night, has the whole day. Every time he opened his mouth, all the kids, we all like looked at each other and were like, whoa, what in the world happened? Like, it's not like a little, I'm a 12-year-old boy kind of, it's like,
What's up, Mr. Clogs?
The thing that was weird is he acted exactly the same. He didn't like, I'm like a big kid now. It wasn't anything like that. It was just his voice was like shifted down. And I know that happens, but it's just weird. And it made me think about how these kids who are going through those types of changes right now don't get to do it in the context of other people also going through those changes.
Oh, because of COVID kids?
Yeah. Some of them do, maybe.
I wondered about that. Like, I didn't know if that was necessarily a good or a bad thing.
I can see both.
Yeah, think back to middle school and how awkward and just weird and dumb middle school was. And I wonder how that's going to affect this generation of weird voice-changing, puberty, and, encountering kids that I don't remember it being like oh, cool, man, you're going through puberty too. Like, high five, bro. Let's have a support group for it. Like, it seemed very private anyway. And so I didn't know if it would be that noticeable.
Yeah.
Or if they would even notice it was weird. Because I remember, like, everybody's middle school time, I assume, if you're a human being in the United States of America, it's just an awkward, weird, transitional phase. Well, these kids don't have that. It's weird and awkward, but in a different way.
Yeah, I do think that whether we recognize it or not, though, there is something comforting about, like, I'm not the only one whose voice cracks. I'm not the only one who doesn't know what to do with my hands when I'm talking to so-and-so, you know. I think there's, like, some camaraderie in, like, being the odd man out along with other people who are also the odd man out. Because that's what middle school was for me. Like, I don't know where I fit.
There was a lot of peer pressure that a lot of the negatives happened because they were also in that situation.
That's true.
Yeah. And I remember we went to go get some clothes for our kids because they're getting bigger and they need clothes. And we went to Once Upon a Child, and my oldest son, who is 10, is he 10 or is he 11? I don't remember. He's 10. Was like, oh, I don't want to wear secondhand clothes. I was like, brother, your entire wardrobe is secondhand clothes. You just don't know it. And we were talking about getting a new pair of shoes because his feet are getting huge and he needs new shoes. And he was like, I don't want to get new shoes from like the used clothes place. I was like, it's not like Goodwill. This is like a little bit nicer. It's consignment stuff. And so they had these bins along the wall. He found these nice pair of like Nike basketball shoes that happened to fit him. They were a decent price. I'm like, sure, treat yourself, buddy. Like, if we were at the actual shoe store, I would not buy those for you. But because we're here in this context and I know how much they cost and they were looked to be completely unworn, I'm like, yeah, man, go ahead. And I remember thinking about, like, if he were in middle school or, like, that weird pressure that we had to, like, wear nice clothes or, like, you get made fun of because you have Bobo clothes on. I don't know if that's a colloquial thing. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say you have Bobo shoes or you have Bobo whatever? Okay.
Only from you saying it.
Okay, so that was like a middle school thing. That, like, if you had clothes that didn't have, like, the cool brands on it, or if you had the shoes from, like, Payless that tried to look really neat, and they're like, oh, those are Bobo clothes. It's the knockoff version.
Rublocks. I got some Rublock pumps.
Yeah. And he doesn't know that stigma. He doesn't know that whatever. He saw a cool pair of shoes because just they looked cool, and they happened to be Nikes. And I was like, oh, man, if he were in middle school, like, we could have fended off that issue rather than just, like, getting the kids some shoes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not worried about it, but I wonder about kids nowadays. And since we homeschool them, they're all a bunch of weirdos anyway, so they don't really care about the clothes that people are wearing.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, like, the whole, not being with other kids right now through the awkward phase. I could see good and bad in that. I do think that being separated from other people who you do have something in common with could be, I don't think it's like long-term effects or anything, but I think it makes it a little more going through something by yourself, trying to figure out at the same, excuse me, what is up with my throat? It's like we start recording and my throat just goes, I do think that you're obviously not going to be confronted with a lot of the same problems, with a lot of the same pressures that you would be if you're not in school. But the changes happen nonetheless. And I think having at least somebody to recognize those changes alongside, it counts for something. And I think it's helpful. And so I guess what we're, we haven't really like consciously said this, but we're going to try to do is to, I don't know. I don't want to point out the changes, but I also want to make sure that he understands that we recognize that things are happening and that stuff about him is going to change soon, and we're here to help him kind of wade through that. Yeah. But it was just weird for me to realize that there's a bunch of kids right now who normally would be going through change in a particular situation, and that situation for the most part just doesn't exist. Obviously some kids are in school right now, so it exists for some people, but for these two boys, they're both doing school from home, and they both had the realization, because his friend is also almost a year younger than him. We got to talking about, and his voice has changed. My son's hasn't yet, And so I think from both of their perspective, it was like, whoa, your voice has changed. And his friend was like, whoa, your voice hasn't changed? You're almost a year older than me. Like, he didn't make a big deal out of it, but they both had the realization of like, huh, that's weird. They were like, yeah, that is kind of weird. But it was interesting to me to hear that voice change and then like, oh, well, they must be more mature now. Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
They are definitely still very immature. What?
Says the dudes that are playing with Legos on.
Mine's a model kit. I don't know about you. This is a sophisticated, whatever. Yeah, it's a model. It's toys.
How long did we play Minecraft today during work hour?
I said 10 minutes. It wasn't exactly 10 minutes, but, Yeah, so, I don't know. That was an interesting thing for me to, on top of just the age change and adolescence to teenager, realizations and stuff that we've been paying attention to. I don't know. It's just different. And the funny thing is my kids are pretty close together in age. And so, my daughter is a little bit younger. She's going to be going through all sorts of stuff. And then I have another son and then another son who will just go through basically the same thing, a few years apart. So it's just going to be this kind of rolling puberty thing for the next several years.
Well, when your son got braces, like I had talked to my son, on our own about getting braces. And he was like, no, God, I don't want braces. And I don't know if he was afraid of it. I think it would hurt or some kind of weird, like, visual thing. Like he just didn't want braces. And then he saw your son with him. And I was like, yo, you need to talk to my kid about braces. So that it's not some, if it does come up, it's not some scary thing. It's like you know somebody that you love and respect that has been through this thing before. So, tell them about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's, in lieu of going to school, if there's going to be some weird like puberty support group thing that all the kids have to like.
Yeah. So this is I'm hesitant to mention this, but I'm going to anyway for the sake of conversation and other fathers who are in the middle of this thing. We started thinking about my oldest son about the next few years, and somebody gave my daughter a few years ago a book about like taking care of yourself as you get older. It's like a puberty book.
Oh, okay. Not like cholesterol is a bad thing.
No. It's like
Take
here's
baby
what your
aspirin.
body's gonna do.
Oh, okay.
Don't be afraid of it. Don't be worried about it. But you do have to change the way that you kind of take care of yourself, right? You have to keep yourself clean, and you have to, wash your face and all these different things. And it was I think my mom may have given it to my daughter because my mom used to.
Sounds like something your mom would do.
Yeah, my mom used to help young girls with this type of change. Anyway. And so the other day we were like, well, maybe we should get one for him. Like, see if there's something else like that for boys, just so they have like if they're not exposed to stuff at school, which is probably good. He's not going to get the wrong information right out of the gate. And he doesn't know what to ask us. Like, we need to be able to kind of lead him through, here's what's coming up, buddy. Like, be ready for this. And so we got to thinking about that, and obviously you don't have to get a book, but we were curious if there was a book for that type of thing that we could read through, make sure it was like covering the right stuff, and then give him so that he could read and then come to us with questions. Not to pass the buck, not to like figure it out on your own, but
to
like
prime the pump.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And so we looked around a little bit and actually found a book that turns out it's by the same people that did the one that my daughter has.
Well, that's good.
And we've started kind of going through it. My wife's gone through more of it than I have. But it's really basic, just like your armpits are going to start smelling. You have to start doing this. And if you don't wash your face, then it's going to do this. And like whatever. All the stuff that as adults we know are going to have to be covered there. But I think we haven't given it to him yet. But I think it's going to be a helpful thing because of the fact that he is not in middle school with his friends. He doesn't have anybody else right in front of him who's going through the similar stuff, like a good friend to kind of be like, what's up with this or whatever. Yeah. So that's a thing that we're kind of looking towards and trying to prepare him for, so that we can kind of help him walk through it. We don't know how long this thing's last. I'm sure he'll be back in school eventually, but I do think it's also a really good thing that we have the opportunity to help him through those kind of puberty changes without the school aspect. Because if you think about, I mean, I think there's good things that can come out of that, but if you think about all the misinformation or misdirection that you could get from your 12, 13-year-old friends when it comes to changes and all of those types of things, the stuff you're exposed to and whatever, at least we can lay a groundwork for like the truth of the matter going forward. And this isn't, I'm talking about like body changes and, you know, understanding of relationships and a bunch of stuff, not any specific thing. But
did you have like a changes program or whatever when you were in middle school, like a piece of dedicated
I don't think
education at your school to like, we had the like testicular cancer screening thing where there was a video and I was like, this is how to check yourself for testicular cancer, because you know you don't get taxes or mortgages, you're in the realm of testicular cancer, and like that was it. And I remember being really uncomfortable, and my mom was a nurse, so like she told me about it. And she was like, oh, just make sure you do the thing. And then when you go to the doctor, it's like, oh, you get it checked. And so that idea that it was happening at school was like extra embarrassing, even though like I was educated on it. And I'm like, I don't need you to go over this. Thank you. I'm just going to stare at the carpet because I don't want to see what's happening in this video. Yeah. But there was not a lot of like jeering or weird little like immature reactions to it. It was very like, okay, well, that's done. Yeah. And now go back to class.
Right.
And that was it.
I don't think we had anything like that. The only thing I really remember was in high school, early high school, we had a health class. Then, you know, half the semester was PE and then half of it was health. And it was a boy and girl class. And we covered, I don't even think we covered like reproduction or anything like that.
Oh, no, we didn't.
I don't really remember. The only thing I do remember from that entire class was we watched a video of a baby being born.
Ooh.
Straight down the barrel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's never... a deterrent, less education.
I think so.
Yeah.
So this is how this went down. We're in this class, and I remember they said ahead of time, on this day we're watching this video, you have to get this paper signed, and it is a medical video of somebody having a baby, like straight down the barrel. And so I remember being in this class, and I was in the middle of the room looking straight ahead at this TV. And I hated every second of it. And my friend Elena next to me leaned over and she was like, "You're green." And I was so close to just barfing over the entire room. I mean, it was bad. Like, it was so disgusting. Now, this is a person who I've watched all 4 of my kids being born straight down the barrel. So but the thing was, check this out. When we were pregnant with my oldest son, I actively remembered that middle school or that high school watching that video. And I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to pass out in the room with my wife. Like, I don't want to be a problem. I want to be there, help however I possibly can, which is not much. But I don't want to be a problem. I don't want to like be somebody else for them to take care of.
Right.
And so without telling her, I was like, all right, I got to make sure that I can handle this again because I don't know what to expect. I almost lost it the last time. And so before my oldest was born, I got on the internet and I was like, how do I look up baby being born without getting all the wrong results? Like, I want a medical video. I don't want it, but I needed to watch a medical video of somebody having a baby. And I had to carefully search for that. And I found some doctor's website or something. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I watched the video and it got over with. And I was like, yeah, it was super gross, but I'm fine. Like, I'm okay, which is good. So I made sure that I wasn't going to lose it. And then, you know, when the babies were all born, I was there and as helpful as I could be and didn't lose it. I told you the story about my daughter being born, right, though?
No.
If I've told you here. Okay, let's just jump ahead. So we're talking about babies being born. My daughter, my oldest son, when my wife went into labor with him, it was like, first baby, we don't know what to expect. Oh, she's having some contractions. Let's immediately go to the hospital. Like, and then we sat at the hospital for like 18 hours.
Yep.
And they were like, you can't go home, but you're not even close. So go walk circles around the hospital and then come back, whenever something feels different. So we spent the entire day there, and then labor took a long time and whatever. So when it came to the second one, my daughter, my wife, who's super tough and can put up with basically anything, was like, she woke me up at 9 o'clock in the morning. And she was like, well, I've been having contractions for a while. No, 8 o'clock. She woke me up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I've been having contractions for a while, but I went ahead and took a shower, and like I made some breakfast, and there's coffee downstairs, and I did this, and I figured we'll just wait here. So finally at like 8:30, she's like, well, it's starting to kind of, maybe we should go to the doctor's office. It's in the hospital. We'll go ahead and go there, and they can check me, whatever. So we get to the thing. It's all relaxed. Everything's cool. She's fine. So we get to the doctor's office. They're in the staff meeting in the back because it's not even 9 o'clock yet, so they haven't opened. So they let us in. They put us in a room, put a monitor on her, and they're like, we're going to be in the back having
face cake for Cheryl's birthday.
So we're back there. And so we're just sitting in this room, and after about 10 minutes, she's like, I think you need to go get somebody. This is starting to hurt a lot. So I go back and knock on the door. Nurse comes out. They walk in, and they check her, and they're like, do not push. Whatever you do not push. You are fully dilated. It is go time right now in the doctor's office. And so they're like, we need to get you to a delivery room as quickly as possible. And so, and this is within a minute, this happens from when they walk into the door to when she's in a wheelchair. They're rushing us out of the doctor's office into the rest of the hospital. There's two nurses. One has the key card. So she's like, we're in some back hallway, and she's like swiping doors, and these doors are flying open, and we're going down this long hallway. We're running. And then we get to the delivery room. They bring her in. Two nurses lift her onto the table while the doctor is running in behind. He's cleaning his hands. He's snapping on the gloves. And they put her on the table, and he's like, okay, push. 2 pushes, baby's out. Everything's good. It was insane. Now, I had not eaten anything yet in the morning because I don't really eat breakfast.
Review your video, I bet.
I didn't. No, I was fine with the thing, but I hadn't eaten anything. Hadn't really had any coffee. And because I don't typically eat breakfast, but from sitting in that office to all of a sudden we have to go and we're running and the adrenaline is like just boosted all the way up. The baby comes out and I'm like to the nurse, is she okay? And they're like, she's perfect. And I went, great. Whoa. And everything started spinning. And I grabbed, I can still see it. There was one of those wide trash cans. It's like not deep, but it's real wide. It's about shoulder length apart, in between the door and the bed. And I grabbed the trash can to hold myself up so I wouldn't fall over. And I was holding on to both sides of it. And I could just see it going like this. I'm like, ugh. And the nurse is like, Dad, are you okay? And I'm like, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm okay. And I wasn't going to throw up. I was just trying to stand up because I was about to lose it. And so it took me probably 2 or 3 minutes to I think I ended up on my knees kind of holding on to it. I'm like, I'm really okay. Just ignore me. I'm okay. And then everything kind of
This is the face of an okay man.
kind of came back into focus, and then we moved on with our life. But it was this really weird, we're just going to take it easy to, 100 miles an hour, and then it's done, which is good for my wife and good for the baby, but it was crazy. Anyway, that's my story about her. We had other crazy stories about the other kids, but we won't do those right now.
We had a baby in Europe, and I remember it being very scary because it was different. But
your first baby was born.
Yeah, my oldest son was born in Belgium. And I remember when we went to the hospital the first time, my wife started crying because she was afraid. And she was afraid in a foreign country. And something that was just different from, her sister having a baby or other people that she knew that had babies.
Oh, right.
It just looked different. There was nothing that different about it. We were in this nice little room, and she was in a tub. And she's like, I got to get up out of the tub to go to the bathroom. Because we had been there for hours and hours and hours watching movies with no air conditioning. So, that's the difference in American hospitals. And then she got up out of the tub to like go to the bathroom, and then she like doubled over in pain in the hallway. And she's like, nope, this was a dumb idea. And the anesthesiologist just happened to be like coming out of the elevator, and I was speaking to the guy because they spoke English really well, and I spoke French decently well. So I was like, you need to come over here quickly. And then she had the epidural. Did you see that happen?
Yes.
She didn't see it happen because they stab.
Yeah, they're in their back.
They stabbed your lady in the back with a lance that they pulled
huge.
from the stone.
It's huge.
It's segmented to let them know how far this needle is going into your spouse's spine.
Oof.
And I remember she was like, I had to hold her, like her head was on my shoulder facing me, and I remember going, holy crap! She goes, don't you dare say that! I was like, dude, because I'm as many hospitals as like I have been around. Again, my mom was a nurse, so it was not foreign to like go see her at work, or I was the kid that always got hurt. I would always try to make light at the hospital because it's that nervous reaction to just like have fun and be silly. And she did not respond to my fun and or silliness at that moment. And like the look on my face was probably the most unsettled I was the entire time. Because I did not see, you talk about down the barrel as you called it. Nope. No, I'm good. I don't need that. How about you bring that baby out, it cries, and then we can go home eventually. That's all I need to know. Like, it could be one of those children's books. It's like, and then baby came. Sure. I'll be that ignorant. You could put a stork in there and just fool me. But, ooh. And then our other two kids were water births. Our friend in Alabama was a midwife. And she was like, yeah, there's no reason that you can't have a birth in the bath or like this big tub. Like at your house. It was all super chill. But we lived in Alabama. So we couldn't have a midwife deliver our kid because it was not at a hospital. But a passerby who heard like a calamity could give birth to your kid and like get the key to the city. But if that person was a medical professional, they could lose their license. Super dumb. So we lived an hour and a half from the house that I grew up in. So my middle son was born in my childhood bedroom.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The whole situation was crazy. And like me talking
wild.
to my dad's probably watching, my very conservative dad. I'm like, oh, hey, Buttface is going to have this baby at
You
your
just
house.
explain that.
I do. I'm sorry. There's a pet name from a long time ago in the 19 years of me and my wife being together that she developed a nickname, a very cute nickname.
Buttface.
Buttface. But yeah. Anyway, so I was telling my dad, I'm like, yo, Buttface is going to have this baby at your house. And he was like, I don't think so. And so, but it was fine. It was like, we had a little adapter in the sink. And I just ran a hose from the sink that was my bathroom growing up into my bedroom with a garden hose, filled it up, and there was a little heater thing. No, I just used hot water. And then there was a little heater dealie. We put like a big plastic tarp inside it because it was this like plastic wall with like a pad on the ground. And so we were like watching movies and hanging out, and she wanted to like cook some food, and we were just like chilling at the house. And she's like, I don't feel very good. She's like, maybe I'll go hang out in the tub, in this like hot tub in the room. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so the urgency of like the hospital thing, and there's like, it needs to be all this many people and all the little lights and all the stuff. Like our friend who was a physician's assistant, who was our midwife, like she had her little kit of stuff. So she was prepared. She had medicines. She had stuff to react appropriately. And it was super chill. I remember my son was born and we went home that next day or that evening, like drove back to Alabama, and my wife was up like just doing stuff. Completely different from the first time. And then my daughter, who was our third kid, it was the same thing. We used actually the same tub. We borrowed it from her. I had a different midwife. But it was the exact same process. Like, I think our boys were asleep and they just woke up the next morning and they had a sister. They didn't get to see like
That's probably good.
cleaning up the murder scene that I had to clean up. But it was super chill, and we were very, very fortunate that she was healthy enough through all of that to be able to have that as an option.
That's cool.
And then we got we sailed that ship with having babies.
Close shop.
Yeah, I don't need to borrow that tub anymore.
Yep.
And we got a puppy.
Yeah. So, so Anthony keeps a list of potential titles on screen, and it's a pretty funny list to look at while we're talking. But anyway,
So buttface. Oh, I need to clarify because people are going to think I'm mean to my wife, which is not the case. You watch Everybody Loves Raymond?
yeah.
So we really like that show, and as far as like the home improvement, like here's a healthy relationship, even though it's silly and it's kind of funny, but like they make fun of each other, and it's not the Leave It to Beaver like mom and dad relationship. It's more kind of real. And there was one episode where I forgot the mom's name was talking to Raymond, and she was like, "Yeah, you big idiot," and he was like, "What are you talking about?" And he got mad. She's like, "No. I say that like a term of endearment." Like, you big idiot. And so she tried to make fun of him and like call him a name, and then she turned it around and made him enjoy it. And I remember we were watching that, and I was looking at her, and she just like couldn't figure out what I was going to say. And I was like, "You butt face." And then she got all upset. I'm like, no. It's a term of endearment. I love you. And then it just became this thing that stuck. And she never cared until maybe a year and a half ago when I'm on my phone and I was like, "Oh, I got to call your mom," to like my oldest son. And he's like, "Why does it say butt face?" I was like, "Oh." I'm like, well, I guess I got to change it now. To this day, I still roll through my contacts trying to find butt face and it's not there. I'm like, "Oh, it says Tiff." Her name.
That's pretty funny.
I love that lady, but she's a butt face.
You should have just told your kids. See, if you love your mom, you just got to come up with a name for her, like Buttface.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day when they can make up silly derogatory names for their spouses, and their spouse not care.
Yeah, I think that's
the sign.
That's the thing to make sure that their spouse doesn't care.
If you can call your spouse Buttface, and they love you nonetheless, then you're doing something right.
We've covered some ground today. Anything else on any of this stuff?
This lighting kit is stressful.
Those wires are very, very
they are
tiny.
Very tiny, and I have shaky hands, and it's coming together. I think it's coming together. Yeah. And then I got to put this thing on that thing.
Well, so far I've done nothing.
You glued that guy? Like, he has almost all of his limbs.
But
now.
look at, okay, switch cameras. Look how oddly proportioned this little pilot is. His arms are as long as his legs, and he has no back. And there's two of these little guys. What a weird... Yeah. Anyway. And it doesn't look like an X-Wing pilot costume at all. But whatever. Anyway. You got anything else you want to chat through?
Nope. I think we're good.
All right. Well, big thanks to our Maker Alliance members who make this show possible. And if you're listening to this, then by the time you hear this, the first new episode of Brain Pick should be out. It is me interviewing and hanging out with Alex Steele. We had a really good conversation. We had fun talking. I don't know if it's a good conversation, but it was a lot of fun talking to him. And so that's a new thing that we're going to be doing, and the Maker Alliance members get the after show for that, which is like a little bit extra conversation. And in fact, he tells me something secret that I don't think anybody else, on YouTube or anything knows yet about some changes coming up for him. So everybody who's in the Maker Alliance, go check your feed on however you have joined us. If you want to join that and get that after show, as well as Discord access, all the other, discount codes, all the stuff that we do for them, go to iliketomakestuff.com/join. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find pictures of my cute dog on Instagram.
That's true, yeah.
Josh_makestuff.
And you can find all of us at I Like to Make Stuff on all the stuff. We should talk about social media soon.
Yeah, I just listened to, so we were talking about, hey, we should watch The Social Dilemma and talk about it. Guess what Matt and Destin did?
Yeah, well, I knew that was coming. I'm about halfway through that episode. I'm not done yet. No dumb questions, in case you're listening and you don't know what we're talking about. No dumb questions.
If you like podcasts that are about know something,
yeah,
ours and theirs.
They're basically the same, except theirs is like way bigger and better and stuff. But theirs is a really, really good show. But they're talking about The Social Dilemma right now, which has, again, sparked this thing in me about my feelings toward social media and how unfortunately attached I am to it at this point in life.
Yeah, Destin came out and was like, I'm addicted to my phone.
Yeah. Which we should talk about that soon. It's a whole thing.
Well,
But
we should set homework for ourselves or we're never going to do it.
that's true.
We should go put it on the big screen in there for the cool Star Wars Media Console Entertainment Center that we made.
That's true. We did. We're really bad at wrapping up a show because it just keeps going on and on. So we're going to wrap this one up. We will talk about that stuff soon, as well as some other things that I've made notes of. And so thank you to you for listening or watching or whatever.
Oh, you're talking to me.
Well, and thank you to you for...
Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Cool.
thank you.
All right, we'll catch you guys later.
Okay, bye. I mean, bye. I did it wrong.